Okay, I'm a reader. Quick origin story, I guess. I didn't start out a reader. I only read when I was made to in school, or if my brother loved something so much I had to read it because I was his little shadow and I loved it. Um, Fast forward to getting married, having kids, and then um, watched a movie. Found out from friends that that movie was a book series, and they were like, even though you're not a reader, try it. Try it, try it. So I tried it, and it sparked the obsession. And that book was Twilight. Laugh if you want, I don't care. The joy and the solace and the escape that I have found in my books, nothing you can say will make the greatness of that any less. That being said, it's a new year. I'm on a new social media platform, so I'm gonna do new things. One of those new things is I'm gonna share my book reviews with you guys, especially if it's a book that pulls me, that really gets to me, either emotionally, or makes me mad, or it's just a mess, which I don't pick a lot of books that have turned out to be a mess, so I don't think that'll happen, but we'll see. Who knows? And then maybe later down the road, I'll finally get up off my butt and get back to working, and I'll start talking to you guys about my own books one day. We'll see. Anyways, so to start this off, I am a part of a lot of different clubs, book groups. I've got book friends. I go to book conventions. I have author friends. I have friends kind of that dabble in all different aspects of the book world. But one in particular is Friends in Fiction Book Club, the Georgia chapter, with Lisa and Brenda, or Brenda and Lisa. I don't remember which way the moniker goes. But they're going to be discussing this book, P.S. I Hate You by Lauren Connolly. I believe tomorrow. I'm not sure. I just finished the book, and this is what sparked the idea in the first place of doing this, because what normally would have taken me a day, maybe two, to read, took me almost 5 days, and most of them were spent sobbing. And it's not her fault. My life is just too fucked up. So this book is about two exes, 8 destination, and it says love travels fast. And then the quote said by New York Times bestselling author Penny Reed is, Lauren's writing is spellbinding and her books are unputdownable. It depends on your background. Okay. Now, let me start off by saying, with my reviews, I'm not going to ruin the story. I don't spoil. I refuse to do that. But I will tell you, if you need a warning, a trigger warning, an emotional warning, if you need tissues. And because of my unusual circumstances, I did not know going into reading this book how it was going to affect me. So I will go ahead and say for this one, there's probably going to be spoiler alerts, because I can't give you the reason for my review without spoiling the story because of the attachment to my life. And that's just how it goes. So this story is about a girl whose brother passes away from cancer. And they were kind of estranged. They were estranged because growing up, the sister was in love with the brother's best friend. And for a while, it was just that. It was the little sister in love with the big brother's best friend. But then it became more for a short period of time that she thought was going to be eternity. And then circumstances occurred, and he ends up the next day engaged to his former high school sweetheart, devastating her. And she moved immediately across the country, because how can you, they were all friends. You can't take your brother's best friends away from him. You can still see him, but you don't want to see them, you know? So that hit me hard because of, I mean, let's just call it what it is. My husband died unexpectedly in May of 2023. So at first, when I went into reading the book, not knowing anything about it, when I got to the part about the brother dying, I was like, oh no, this is not going to be good for me. I am in no way, shape, or form ready for that. I didn't know. I wasn't ready. It was so much more than that, because shortly after, we're going to get raw, so tissue warning. Shortly after getting to that part in the book that the brother had died of cancer and had left this journey for his sister and his best friend to go on as kind of like his last request for the two of them, hit me really hard, because I would have given anything for that extra time, that knowledge, that ability to say goodbye in a special way with my husband. Even though we weren't in a good place, he was starting to come around, it seemed. I don't know. I'll never know. But getting to say goodbye, getting to say I'm sorry, would have been a huge deal for me and my kids, our kids. So it got me because I was jealous. I was jealous of Maddie and Dom because I didn't get that. Little did I know, I should have kept my thoughts to myself, because you guys will get to know this, but no one else will. While reading this story, I was only a day in, and my best friend since high school, the only person that stuck it out with me through everything, even when she's going blind and couldn't come and see me, she was still there how she could be. Called me after getting her second opinion at the doctor's and finally got a prognosis. And now I'm gonna see how it feels for real to know in advance. Sort of. It's not cancer. But my best friend found out she has ALS, and so that's the reason she's been falling. That's the reason for the losing the strength in her in her arms and legs, so she couldn't get up in my Jeep anymore without a step stool. That was the reason for her sudden slurred speech. that started just a couple months ago. The reason we told her to demand a second opinion, it turns out that it is ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, what everybody was doing the ice bucket challenge for. So there's no cure for that. There are only two trials, and you have to be in the early stages to be eligible, as far as I know right now. But according to what I read online in preparation, 2 to 5 years is the prognosis for someone diagnosed with ALS. So now the book has taken a turn because my sister, my person, my bestie, I'm losing her too. So I am going to get that long, drawn out, painful goodbye. And really, really, really hit me hard trying to get through this book because of that. I can't make her do, she's blind. She can't write notes. I can't save her handwriting because she doesn't really have handwriting anymore. And because the doctors screwed around so long, even though they've scanned her brain for years, never saw it. Now her speech is slurred, so she's never going to sound the same again. We didn't know. So this was like the most beautiful and horrible book for me to read right now. And it was not Lauren's fault, even a little bit. It's a phenomenal story. It's a powerful story. It's definitely a painful story, an emotional story. And if you're an emotional person, or if you've ever experienced deep loss or grief, have tissues if you read this book. But it is a beautiful book. And it does have a happy ending in the romance setting. Obviously, the loss of the brother is not happy, but that's not the point of the story. It's the catalyst of the story. Now, at the beginning of it, before I knew about my bestie, just thinking about my husband and what I had to go through with all of that, with his ashes and stuff like that. My first, I kind of read it and then would reread the same page a couple of times because I was reading it split-brained. What I mean by that is half of my brain was reading it as a reader. Just entertainment. I'm sorry, I am a mess. Anyway, but the other half of me was thinking on the side of a person who has had to deal with ashes and all of that stuff. So I was critiquing it kind of harshly. Again, I was jealous of the ability to say goodbye with it being her brother and a long-term illness, which to be jealous of that is gross, but I know why I did it, but you know what I'm saying. Anyway, but my brain was like, you can't do that. You can't just release ashes wherever you want them because it fucks up the ecosystem. You can't release them in water wherever you want to. If they find out you do that, you get arrested. Is it too harsh? That's not for me to decide. I don't come up with the laws or whatnot, but I didn't do that. What I did do which was kind of along the same path of thinking. My husband, two of his favorite things was the ocean and free diving. And then he was really passionate about turtles, because where he grew up in Florida, they had these turtle rescues and stuff, where they rescued like loggerhead turtles and stuff like that. So when I had to go through the process with the military of selecting what I wanted to do, I wanted to do a few things. I wanted him to have a place for his military people to be able to go that had nothing to do with me or our children or our family, but just military people that maybe didn't even know we existed. They could go and they could pay their respects. So he's at the National Cemetery. There is an urn with him at the National Cemetery. That was for them. That's the place for the service members, or the people who have no rights to any part of him outside of that can just go, and I don't have to put up with them, like his biological family, who are not people that I will discuss on here, but if you go to my TikTok, all the business is there. I digress. Then I got little urns that I got for the people that meant the most to him. And if they came to the service, one of the 3 services that he had, the military one and the 2 I had, they got their little urns. The kids, so on and so forth. And then the big one was like in the book. I got a biodegradable urn in the shape of a turtle. And then I went on a cruise in the Caribbean, because it touches, Florida. And they let me release the turtle off the back of the cruise ship. So, but I had to get it signed. I had to have documentation to be allowed to do that. I had to have documentation to fly with ashes of a certain amount or more. So that's why reading the book, I'm like, there's no way you traveled like that and just like with people watching. Like, there would have had to been a lot more involved. But then I had to stop myself and be like, you're reading this for enjoyment. You're not reading this to be an asshole widow who's bitter because they got to do something you didn't get to do. It's a book. So then I went back and tried to read it. Sorry, I'm about to cry again. I went back and tried to read it as just a reader. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Like, if it were allowed, that's such an amazing journey. Maybe if I had that option, I'd be doing a better job at healing. But because I don't have that option, I've been going to concerts that we couldn't go to together, and I've been going on trips that we couldn't go on together. And I've been meeting all these amazing, famous people from movies that we loved growing up that he would absolutely have just freaked out that I have been in the presence of. So hopefully, wherever his soul is on the other side of the veil, he's seeing it and enjoying it too. So, thinking on that aspect of just the beauty of the idea made this book a lot easier to swallow, sort of. It still hurt to read. And I guess all books about best friends being lost or any kind of loss like that is going to bother me because of what I'm going to be going through with my bestie for however long I have her for. So, whilst I won't be able to paste this review on any of my social media platforms or YouTube until after she officially announces it to everyone once we go to the doctor next month, which is just a couple weeks away. I needed to get it out. And to let you know that this book is amazing. But tread carefully. Normally, something like this shouldn't need a trigger warning. But if you are one of those few unfortunate souls like myself that have had tremendous loss of sibling or spouse or child or whatever, have tissues, lots and lots of tissues ready when reading this book. There's also a lot of funny. There's also, of course, the romance. The story between them was really good. The character interactions were really good. Nothing felt off about it. It wasn't too predictable, but like it flowed like it should, if that makes sense. Some books you're like, oh my gosh, really? Like it's only like the third page and I know what's happening. This one, you kind of have an idea. You think you might know where it's going to go. And it does, but it's not a smack you in the face in the second page. But yeah, definitely if you've had loss or are going through that kind of circumstance of terminal illness, go into this book with caution and tissues and maybe a pint of ice cream, or if you're lactose intolerant, whatever you're allowed to have. Because you might need a little bit of comfort every once in a while whilst reading this story. Because yeah, normally I would have gotten through something this length in a day or two, but it took me almost 5 full days because I couldn't stop crying. The emotions are that good. So that is a testament to how well Lauren Connolly wrote this story. But I will warn those people who have gone through that loss, don't be like myself and look at it through the eyes of someone who's gone through that loss and had to go through those steps, because it's not exactly like that. Like there are things that they get to do that we just can't do in real life unless we have lots of money, and it doesn't matter. So yeah, P.S. I Hate You by Lauren Connolly is definitely a must read, but tread carefully if you know loss. So if you've been watching from the beginning, thank you so much. If you've only gotten the clip that I've had to cut because it's got stuff that I'm not allowed to tell at the beginning, well, I guess go check out my YouTube after February 11th and you'll get what you missed. But just know there is a reason for all of my tears and why I feel the way I do about this book, and why I had to kind of reread each page and each section, because I was reading it with grief brain and then had to correct myself and go back over it and read it with reader brain that knows it's not a real story. It's fantasy, and you don't have to be mad that somebody got something you didn't, because it's a story. And then you can realize how beautiful it is, and you can imagine how beautiful it would be if you could do that. Because yeah. Anyhow, hopefully all of my reviews on YouTube that I post aren't going to be teary. A lot of the stuff I read is either really dirty, and I like them really dirty, Now, this does have some sexy times in it, but because of all the sadness for me, it really didn't register. For anyone else, probably. It was good, but you can't, when you're emotional like that, sexy times is just not what you're thinking about, even when you're reading it. So yeah, again, if you're an emotional person that has gone through loss and you want to read P.S. I Hate You, pace yourself, have some tissues, give yourself some grace, have a snuggle blanket, maybe a stuffed animal, ice cream, comfort food of some sort, something warm or alcoholic to drink. Keep your phone away from you so you don't make any crazy phone calls. And just let yourself enjoy the idea of being able to say goodbye to someone important and special to you in a very profound and amazing, beautiful way. And that's what you will get with this book. Okay? So until next time, I hope you check back in. All right? Care Bear out.